Dealers, if someone says AI one more time without knowing what the hell it actually does, I might just unplug the Wi-Fi myself. Today on What the Prompt, we're calling BS on the AI noise with the guy who actually built a system of intelligence for dealers, Todd Smith, CEO of QoreAI. If your CRM's full of dead leads, your techs are guessing labor hours, and your vendors keep saying LLM like it's seasoning, this one's for you.
Love it. Yeah,
All right.
Thank you for
Welcome back to What the Prompt.
Yeah.
No worries, man. No worries, man. Well, welcome back to What the Prompt, the show where we help real car people make sense of artificial intelligence minus the fluff. If you're a GM, a GSM, or running fixed stops, or you're just trying to sell more cars, close more ROs, and clean up your tech stack, you're in the right place. Today, I got someone who's not just playing in this AI space, he's building it from the inside out. Todd Smith, the founder of QoreAI. You've probably seen his name pop up on LinkedIn talking about this thing called system of intelligence. And you're like me, your first thought was, what the hell is that? Well, today we're breaking it down. Plain English, no hype, let's go. So Todd, let's start at the core. You and I both know this industry is full of bolt-on tech and duct tape workflows. Dealers are flying blind with bad data, disconnected systems, and managers are still guessing from their gut. But you went deeper. You're building the actual brain of the store, a system that sees everything, connects the dots, and prompts the next best move. What made you go that deep? What were you seeing that told you we've got to fix the core, not just polish the edges?
Wow, it's a really great question, Mike. And for me, I think it really comes down to I have had a passion for AI since 2015 when IBM Watson first came out. And at my previous company, I always wanted to transition from humans doing chat conversations into using technology to offload a lot of the basic conversations, right? Like if they just ask about hours or the simple things where I know we didn't need human capital to answer those things. So fast forward, I kept monitoring. And it wasn't until 22 when ChatGPT, OpenAI, comes out with the first real usable LLM. And it was at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was like, I instantly got into it and said, oh my gosh, what can I do with this thing? And while that was going on, I was always running a parallel path that dealers had way too many disconnected systems, siloed data, and it was really hard to ever get a real view of a customer. And I saw this convergent point. LLM comes out. I said, oh my gosh, if we could grab all the data across all these systems, put it into one, then let the LLM understand it, meaning build like what's called a RAG, like a retrieval augmentation on top of the LLM's power and give it that specialized knowledge about the dealership and the customers. It's like, man, this will change everything. And it would move us away from what I consider these static systems like CRMs, CDPs, all these tools into a world of actions. And that's why, to me, it was a system of intelligence first and building, as you described, the brain of the dealership. Right now, the brain lives in all the employees, right? but how do you get all that
Mhm.
data, and it also lives partially in all the systems? How do we get all of that data into one electronic format that is built for AI? And that was what got me there.
Definitely makes sense. And everything you said, I just gravitating towards it. It just makes sense. Plain talk, real English. It makes a dealer's life easier. But you decided to do what less than 5% of dealers do, and that's execute. You executed on this instead of just bolting on, duct taping. You did it. So
Yeah.
let's talk real talk. When
Sure.
dealers hear AI, they think robots and magic. But what you're saying, it's more like a co-pilot, right? It's not replacing humans. It's helping your sales desk focus on real buyers, helping your service lane run tighter hours, helping your BDC know who's worth calling today, not just click 3 days ago, right?
Right. And if you think about that, today it is a co-pilot, right? Tomorrow it'll pick up more and more work. And what a co-pilot should be doing for you, and I look at a dealership, any place where we do something repetitively, those are the opportunities to start to leverage AI to replace the human. Now, I still believe what's called human in the loop. You do need a human involved at touch points on any experience. But I believe we're going to be able to start using this technology to replace things that nobody wants to do anyway. Like, think about this in every store. If we go in, how many times is a sales manager yelling at a salesperson, "Hey, did you follow up on Todd this week?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you follow up on Joe?" And the real reality is they don't want to. And it's because there's some instinct that's like, well, I talked to him once and he needed to get his wife, and like he still done it
Yeah.
as a credit issue, or he's waiting for a tax refund. But the system, since it's built linearly on a task process and the manager is running that, he's telling you to do
Right.
things that are mistimed instead of understanding the actual behavior of the customer and then matching the ebb and flow. And that, to me, is where we're heading. Like right now, we're going to be able to use this technology to kind of transform how we interact with customers and relationships we build with them. But I definitely believe we're at this, super interesting time where many dealers I talk to, one, don't really understand even what AI is, except what they read or the sound bites they would see on 60 Minutes, or, Terminator, it's coming for us all. I literally had a guy in the audience after I gave a speech a couple of weeks ago. He basically goes, "Is Terminator just going to come kill us all?" It's scary to think that way. But
Right.
everything is a possibility, right? We're dealing with a piece of technology we really don't understand at all.
Yeah.
So it's like a black box, pieces of it. Anyone who says they can explain how AI works is a liar. Even the biggest research labs at Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok,
Mm-hmm.
Lambda, we can get kind of in a realm of, hey, we understand, but a lot of it's based on, our inputs and guardrails we put in. And we kind of give it that like balance, but we don't understand why it ended up giving some other output. Like we don't know what's happening there. So I think for dealers, I always look at it as AI today, as you said, co-pilot. And how do you make your organization more efficient? That's all I would be thinking. If I was back in a dealer seat, I'd be saying I spend 5.5 to 6 million on employees. How do I make a $6 million investment worth $12 million in productivity? Or $50 million in productivity. Like, how do I do that? How do I turn my humans into superhumans? And that's the beginning of this. This is where AI is going to make the biggest impact immediately, is in that area. And then slowly it will erode some of those jobs that are high repetition and do not need a human to execute, or jobs that, let's be honest, we don't want to do. Do you really think that warranty administrator wants to key in all those codes all the time? Not at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. Not the friendliest smiles in the dealership. Let's just keep it simple. Finally, your CRM's not just a storage locker. It's a system that thinks. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because look, I feel like I think CRM is dead. Like, honestly, I don't think CRMs live through the war. Now, they're going to be a while, they're going to be here a little bit on the battlefield, right? But they're not going to be at the end of the battlefield. And I look at it the same as like what we're just seeing like in Ukraine, right? They keep asking for tanks, but everyone realizes a tank is like whatever, $60 million. I can take a drone for $20, put 6 pounds of C4 against it, make a swarm of 1,000 of them. I can kill that tank for nothing. And I
Right.
think what we're seeing, like I watched that battlefield because you're seeing AI on a real battlefield, right? And I look at that to draw lessons that, look, our business, no one's getting bombed, nothing bad is happening. But there's lots of very powerful lessons we can learn from looking at where they're pushing this technology. And obviously, to manage a car deal, if I can make a swarm of drones fly at low altitude, evade detection and radar, not get shot out of the sky and land on a target with inside, 6 inches, do you really not think
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to build a system that can desk a deal, appraise a trade, help the customer get approved for financing? That's where we're going, and it's going to happen much faster than we believe. And I'm very bullish about that, not because I built Core. I see it as we're not dealing with another SaaS revolution. We're not dealing with the internet. The internet was the scaffolding that's enabling AI to actually happen. And AI
Right.
isn't going to behave like a SaaS tool. It's a species. It's so different structurally than me building a database and a UX. Now we have a database and we have a layer that thinks on top of it. It can reason, it can understand, it can change process and adapt. That is like nothing we've ever seen. So that's where I look at like, whoa, many dealers are comparing, oh, I know SaaS, so AI is just the next SaaS. And it's not. This is a completely different monster. Just like in Ukraine, they're seeing a completely different warfare going on than they did in the last Gulf War, even. So I look
Right.
at these things as like, wow, dealers need to educate. That's rule one. And I think our ability to learn and adapt is our only true competitive advantage. So this goes to Darwinism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was right
Mm-hmm.
back then, 100-fold more today, because that to me is our ability to change as the world's changing and use and adapt to these technologies. That's the real key. And I think the guys who, as you mentioned early, are relying only on gut are just going to get swept out because they're just not going to be as efficient.
So if everyone lives in a data cohort, and based on that, you can predict what people will buy, make, model, trim with like 80% accuracy, that's crazy, right? This
I think
flips
it is
this
too.
the
I think it is
yeah,
too.
yeah.
And listen, we sit in meetings with I have super smart people, MIT people who work for us, just super brains, math Olympiads. Like we have an amazing team. And they showed me, they did an initial test on this. So let me give you background. So we built this model and we did an initial test on 1,000 customers. Okay. And the model was like 73% accurate. So one shot
Oh
just
wow.
worked. So what we did is we took 1,000 customers who we know what they bought. We stripped off what they bought. We fed it back into the model and we say, predict what they're going to buy. Now we matched it up and
Wow.
it was like 74% accurate. So I was like, I'm the skeptic of
Yeah.
our group.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's 1,000 people. Come on. So over the weekend, they turned and ran over 100,000 people. And actually, they had tweaked the model slightly. It got better. So it was 79.84% accurate on the next run of 100,000 people.
Wow.
And that was year, make, model, trim. So we know 8 out of 10 times what you're going to buy. Now we can infer almost 100%. I know you're a truck buyer this time. I know you're a car buyer, SUV, or sport utility. Like we know all the parameters. And as you get closer to that 100%, yeah, it erodes, right? Things get a little wonky, like year gets wonky because you could buy a new 25 and still a new 24. And we have a hard time understanding that still. But I think I was sat down and I told my wife, I was like, this is scary. That but it's funny because Yancey, our MIT guy, he's like, listen, you are not a snowflake. And he always says it. He goes, you think you are logical. You think you are reasoning using your neocortex. And he loves to say that. He goes, you are almost completely run by your limbic system. Do not be fooled. And let me show you the cohorts, because we manage like 74 cohorts. Like, oh, these are single wealthy or retired people. These are empty nesters. These are single parents who make under 30 grand. So there's 74 cohorts. Someone always lives in one of those. And out of those, that gives us the beginning frame of understanding the types of cars they drive based on affordability. And then we break it down and it keeps just peeling the onion, that you get to a point where we can predict what happens next.
This flips the showroom script. Instead of, hey, Todd, welcome to ABC Motors. What are you looking for today? We should be saying, here are 2 vehicles that match your lifestyle, credit, and driving history. That's how you cut friction and close faster.
Yeah. Now, maybe you don't say, or maybe you just say, hey, tell me a little bit about you. And you ignore all that because you're just trying to pull them in and say, well, listen, based on what you've just told me, I have a couple cars to show you. And you walk out and you show them. Almost like the realtor. I always like the realtor thing. Realtors will show you 3 houses. They're going to show you the house that's way outside your budget. And that's the aspirational house, right? But then they're going to tell you what it costs. And you're like, yeah. Then they're going to take you to a dump. And you're going to be like, dude, no way. And then they take you to the house you're going to buy, right? And I think that's what a great realtor does. And I think now with technology, we can do the same for cars. So instead of customer and you lead them outside and you start looking at things, you can actually say, like, here, let me show you this. Like, let's say they're going to buy let's say they're going to buy a LT2 Tahoe, right? So you go show them the top of the line, whatever, I don't even know what it is now for LTZ or whatever they're calling the top of the line Tahoe. You show them
High country.
Show them the high country, right? And with all the bells, and they see the price tag and they're like, ah. And then you're going to show them the LS with the crappy cloth seats, no roof. And you're going to be like, oh. And then you're going to show them, but I think you'd probably be happy here. And they're going to be like, yes. So I think sales just changes the dynamic a little. Because listen, let's be honest. If I walked in and said, hey, Mike, I know you can afford a $600 to $625 payment, which puts you exactly into this sport utility vehicle, you would be like, I'm scared, click. So I think we just have to be tactful in approach. This is where I think automation will probably be better than even humans doing it. The automation could do what I basically just said, show them, and it would feel more natural. Because as soon as you put a human in the loop for some things, humans become skeptical. Case in point. So all the psychology behind this. So if I walk out on the lot and I show you a QR code and I say, here, click this, and it opens up a form. I say, hey, I'm going to be back and get the keys. Just take care of that so we could do your test drive. You're going to fill that thing out without even questioning. Now, flip it. If we walked out on the lot, same thing. I don't have a form. I say, hey, Mike, can I get your phone number? Can I get your email address? Can I get your home address? What are you going to say? Why do you need that? I just want to drive the car. Because the human creates the conflict.
It's an easier conversation or action, isn't it?
Yeah.
I get that definitely.
Yeah.
And look, we can't skip this. None of this works if your data's junk. And most CRM data is junk. Emails are bad. DMS records are stale. Addresses are wrong. What I love is you just don't layer AI on top of it. You clean the mess first. Dealers got to hear that. the garbage has got to be clean before you throw on the turbo.
Oh, yeah. So think of it that way. If you think about decay, data decay. So email addresses decay at about 2.5% per month, so over 30% a year. So they have to be cleaned monthly. So you're looking for deliverability. Does this person mark things as spam a lot? You're looking for last seen, like when was that email last seen? So you can constantly do that. Most consumers have up to 5 email addresses. So IDing which one is the closest to the pin, most valuable to the customer, is critical. After that, you look at phone numbers. Phone numbers also have a decay rate of up to 20% per year. That one even freaked me out because I've had the same number since 1999. So for me, I was like, what do you mean? And it's like, no, actually phones have a 20% turnover. So people switch providers, switch areas. I guess a lot goes about it. Maybe a lot of people have stalkers. I don't know, but people change their number, right? And then, so you have decay there. And then you have home addresses. So home addresses decay at about 10 to 14% a year. So a little more than 1% a month, your database, the people no longer live at that address. So you wouldn't even think about that. And it's higher if your dealership is around, like, let's say, a high, more transient area, like a lot of apartment buildings, college, things like that. So you have to deal with that function as well. And then, what I look is even vehicle ownership. So vehicle ownership, on the average DMS we go into, 40% of the people in their DMS no longer drive that car.
As a salesperson who has dealt with that is a fun conversation, because believe it or not, the customer responds to you like, you should know this, in a tone.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sorry, my system has old information,
and we look stupid.
It's an over.
Right. Yeah. And think about it this way. We start the conversation wrong then. So our orientation is always off. It's like having a compass that's broken. So you're thinking you're heading north and you're really heading west. And you're like, man, why isn't it getting colder? And you're like going the whole opposite way. And the next thing you're in China and you didn't even realize it. You never made the Arctic Circle, right? So I look at these things and I'm like, it's very common. And we look dumb when we present bad data back to the consumer. We look unprepared. So I think for us, hygiene is number one. Really deep diving into your data, understanding it, cleaning it, and then keeping it clean, which what we like to call evergreen. Just like the evergreen, like forest, they never turn colors, the branches. So same kind of concept. You want your data to be always being updated. So I look at this, as you pointed out, data in the CRM or DMS, that is what we call snapshot data. It is a moment in time. I put a lead in today.
Got it.
It's a moment in time. It's a snapshot. I buy a car, moment in time. I come in with the RO and service a week from now, snapshot. So you have all this snapshot data, right? Okay. So what you need to do is start thinking about your data and the fluidity of your data, meaning data is always on the move. It's always changing, just like you and your phone are always on the move and pinging different stuff, right? You get closer to Starbucks, you get a coupon. You get closer to where you normally get gas, maybe it pops up and says, do you need gas, right? Like, think of using technology to be just in time for, what happens, and start thinking about data and creating that fluidity. And it's the same. If we look at a pond with stagnant water in it, are you going to drink it?
Not at all.
The answer is no, right? Unless you want to get some crazy disease and die. So, and because of all the bacteria buildup and things, right? So most dealerships who have data lakes, that's a static pond because it's decaying data on there. And they're pushing more in, but it's just decaying out. You want a river, right? Because you'll drink out of a river because it's healthy, because it's flowing water. Flowing water, flows over the bottom sediment, which keeps it healthy. Same concept. You want a flowing river of data, not a stagnant pond.
All right. This is for the folks running the store day to day. GMs, GSMs, service directors. What QoreAI is doing, it's not just reports, it's prompts. It's your system telling you, here's the right move now. You've got a tech underperforming, you know it. You've got a sales desk dragging close rates, you see it. That's the edge. This is like your DMS, CRM, equity tool, and service scheduler all talk together and knew that what was actually happening instead of just tracking what already happened.
That is right on. And in fact, if you want, I'm more than happy to take a minute. I'll open up Core. We can kind of look through Stage and just kind of see what you just described in action, if that's helpful. So
that's helpful, definitely.
We're in our Stage environment. So I don't have real data here, but you'll get an understanding. So obviously you can prompt. We have pre-built prompts. This we just find helpful, right? Because some people that are new to this, not used to playing with ChatGPT or Claude or any of them, they see that ask a question, they're like, I don't even know where to start. So we built these kind of common ones, and we also have some additional ones over here we call like insights. So let's just say service scheduler abandonment rate. So what it's going to do now, it's compiling people who my customers and well as prospects who went to my website, who landed on my service scheduler page, who didn't book an appointment. So we can see known and unknown. Like this guy is a known to us. So he's a customer. Herman is a customer. So I know this guy was on my webpage today, and the last time he was in for service was December 23. So
wow.
Think about that just contextually, right? Yeah, okay, I want to do something with him. Or, okay, I want to take all these people and now I want to create a Facebook campaign or send it to ActiveCampaign, do an email, or let's target them in my BDC is going to call my known customers. So let's just give them a list or whatever it is you want to do. And we have hundreds and hundreds of connectors. So you can connect your data to anything. We're agnostic. You can connect it to auto tools. You can connect it to what we consider more best-in-class products like the MailChimps, Constant Contacts, Active Campaigns of the world for email, or you have a text tool you like, you can send it to that. So that is one, that's a little insight that's useful. Here's another one I love. And this is, if you think about this, show me people who are coming in for service, but have a really high propensity to probably want to buy. So our signaling is showing that they're in market looking to buy. So we think about these things as very counter, right? Because you would say, well, he's coming in for service. He's a service customer. Well, he's coming in a service, but he's showing all the signs that he's going to buy something. So maybe he's bringing this in because he's going to give it to a kid and he wants to get the car fixed. Maybe he's selling it to a relative. Maybe he needs to curb the car because he thinks he has negative equity. Who knows what the scenario is? But this person behaviorally, we're showing that they are active in market. So these people who are here, these are people, I don't want to try to appraise every car in my service lane. I don't want to think about that. Average dealer has, 100 ROs a day? Do you think you could complete 100 appraisals? No. And why would you? What you want to do is optimize your time. So you want to focus on customers that have the highest probability to want to trade with you. So simple, easy one. So here you can kind of just see how that works. Again, this could be sent to a BDC or wherever it wants to go. Other insights that I find interesting. So here's one. I don't believe all leads are equal. And what I mean by that is we use a lot of gated forms. We use a lot of trickery, Mike, to convince people to fill out their information on dealer websites. So we get a percentage of people who are actually not in quite market yet, or they're not in buy stage. They're in market, but they're still in shopping. And what I've noticed, many CRMs attack every lead like they're going to buy today. Yet, if you look at it statistically, I mean, the vast majority of people would still be considered in a shopping stage with a propensity score of 617, while the people who are actually going to buy have an average score of 871. Yet here's a big high count. Many people of leads are coming in have a very low propensity score, which means they are top of the funnel, maybe just beginning their 90-day process. Yet we're treating them like they're going to buy this week. This is why dealers end up not closing as many leads, because they're not prioritizing their leads correctly. So for us, we get to see, and we also understand like economic cohort, like who is this person? Like this person, flush funds, wealthy urban seniors, 65 plus, make 200 grand a year. This person relying on age, so retired single, makes under 50 grand. So this one might be a financing challenge. They're not also in market, so maybe they're just kicking tires or dreaming of a car. This person's credit crunch, city families, 35, 44, under 50K. So again, we understand not only the person, we understand, are they in market? We understand what they can afford, and we understand the persona of who they are.
You're showing me wonderful, wonderful everything, right? What is the prompt for that GM who may be looking at this and is so wowed, but they don't know how to execute? They just plan it, and maybe I'll talk to Todd. Here's what I really want to ask. Okay, when I was in stores and a GM would say, "Hey, desk managers, you're our trainers. Train the sales reps." I would take it like a project. Okay. Are we going to create binders? Do we have an outline we're going to follow? Should we get a trainer to come in? So what I learned with my child, for instance, he was a football player and also an oboe player, right? Two things that a 5'5" guy isn't. And I was like, okay, either we're going to teach him, have the coach teach him, or pay somebody to do it, right? To get him where he wants to go. That's the same feature with the store. We're either going to do it ourselves, the cheap route, or we're going to pay somebody to do it. So I'm a GM looking at this saying, wow, Todd, that looks great, but I don't know how to do that. Do you have partners or folks that could activate these campaigns, or would you tell that GM, here's the prompt? We would show you how to do this, or we have a partner that will help you get these campaigns going?
Let's see, customers who will be in market. So let this one pull together as it's doing this. So here we go. As we're doing this, first is you want to create your audience, right? As we said, so you want to create this small audience, big audience, whatever. Now you have some opportunities. So here you go. It's starting to spit us back a list. So as you can see, it's like I've compiled, I'm fighting with it right now as it's continuing to talk. Dude, where did it go? Here it goes. Okay. So here I've compiled a list of customers interested in Ford vehicles or a low propensity score. So these are people who might be, they're growing in, their propensity score is going up through time. So we see them coming into market in a future period. So we can kind of see more likelihood as they go. So we can now focus in on high likelihood. We can make all the adjustments, or we could just say, let's explore that data. Okay. So this is, again, still easy. No problem doing this. It's building our workspace. So at this point, you can have an agency come in and do this. You could collaborate with your agency. Your agency could execute it, right? Agency could build a list. You could export it. So I could export this as a CSV and send it to my agency. I could send this to my BDC. I could make a small little campaign, and every time there's new data, like one of these insights, so every time one of these insights sees a new one, it can auto send you a message on it. So you can think about that autonomous agent. Think about building that workflow that's just always now working in the background for you. And then you can connect it up. We don't do creative because it's just not our thing. But you could pay someone to build you some active campaign templates, right? You could go in and probably build some of your own, believe it or not. It's not that complicated. You want to tie it to you. I guarantee you already have Facebook probably ads running. So you just create a different campaign. It's tied to it. Every time the system sees new data, it pushes that data to Facebook. So once you build the automation, they're done. They're running. And you can build automations and like make your life easy, right? So we look at that as, again, we don't want to do the marketing because we're the data people, but we'll definitely connect you to the tools to do the marketing, right? And if I look at like, we have, managing integrations, I can come, I don't know if my demo store has it set up. I probably have to go to a live environment, but, we could come up here and there's hundreds and hundreds of integrations you can do. So, and look, you can let some campaigns be run by agencies. Maybe you have some people internally running some. Maybe some are directly connected to your BDC. Maybe some are just lists that your manager's looking at. So maybe it's like here is one that I, as a service manager, I may want to look at this one. So these are customers who frequently came to us for service, but we now haven't seen them in the last 12 months.
Right.
So as a service manager, I just may want to get a tickle of this emailed to me every day. And maybe I just want to reach out to those people.
Personally. Yep.
Yeah.
I get
or,
it.
Or
Todd,
maybe I send that to my service advisors to do it. So I think we wanted to give options. Now, so we have this, Mike, and this is good. I love this. But we also realize nobody wants one more thing to log into. Nobody wants, one more piece of technology. So we built this extension where I can look up any customer that I have in the system. No customer on this. Again, dummy data. So let me show you like let's look at one, pull up a customer profile. So it can ride along. So you can be in your CRM here. And now you have a complete, I know their propensity. I know who they are. I know current vehicle. I can see, they bought a car from me in 23. I see what they paid. I can see any service repair order tickets, open, closed, or recalls. And I can see insights about them. So I understand this person's affordability band. I know what they can most likely spend. And this, it won't work in this case, but I think I have another demo one where it's already done. Maybe Sarah Williams. It'll actually give you how to talk and communicate with Sarah based on everything we know.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'll give you, this is the tone she likes, voice, because we understand who she is.
Sure. All right. Now, Todd, I saw your LinkedIn post the other day, and man, you stirred the pot. You said everyone's tossing around LLM and agents like they're experts. Most of them are faking fluency, and I clapped because that's exactly what's happening. Let's talk about that, because vendors are out here selling buzzwords while dealers are drowning in inefficiency. And this line, I loved it. You don't need your own LLM. You need your own data layer. That's it. You don't need $1 billion model. You need clean, connected intel in your house.
Yeah. That post came because I was invited into a Clubhouse room where they were talking automotive and AI. And the amount of misinformation that was shared, like, honestly, I didn't participate. I was a fly on the wall. And I was like, wow, these people don't even know what they're talking about. They said, LLMs and agents are the same thing. And I'm like, that's incorrect. I literally, so I recorded, I have Limitless. I recorded the Clubhouse. And then I analyzed my recording of Clubhouse. And I just said, let's just play Todd. Maybe Todd's crazy today. Let's fact check this. And the response I got from it was like, yeah, none of this is correct. Like they were saying well, someone, instead of MCP, which is a model context protocol, they called it some master something. They made up a whole new acronym. It's not even real. And then I went through a series of listening to that and I was like, oh my gosh, you have a bunch of auto people. And I'm an auto person, but I have spent years and years educating myself deeply on understanding this stuff. It's not a buzzword to me. This has been my passion since 2015. So I feel like,
Yeah.
whoa. Like, what are we doing here? And look, Auto, CDP comes out, everyone's a CDP expert, or all these business pivot. We're a CDP now, or we have a CDP component, or we're CDP light.
Yeah.
And now it's like AI, and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon, right? And sell the latest snake oil of their expertise in this area. But my fear, and why I posted that, is I believe dealers, if they're reading that and listening to that, they're being taken further away from the truth. They're being taken further away from understanding how these technologies work. And if you are being taken away from understanding how they work, then you can't use them to be competitive, right, in the future. Like, if you're not educated on the facts of how these systems actually operate. And look, is there complexity to it? Yes. But as we talked about very in the beginning, what is an LLM? Listen, it just predicts the next letter, which predicts the next word, which predicts the next sentence. The simplest way to look at an LLM, trained on all of the internet's knowledge. But it's weird, like they were even saying like, oh, it just goes to the internet live and collects the data. I was like, lie. Nothing accesses the internet live. Like, because it would take too long. It would take hours to go crawl. No, all that has been indexed. All of that is already, it tells you it's doing that. It's accessing internet files, but it's not going live to the internet to do something. So I left that clubhouse with my mind blown. It really was. And I was so mad. I went downstairs. I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, man, like, what is going on? She goes, sounds like a new LinkedIn post for you, and ha ha ha. And I was like, here I come, right at him. Like, let me write my LinkedIn post, because I want dealers to have good information. I want them to have thoughtful information. And I don't care if they ever do business with Core, but what I do care is they learn about these things and figure out how to put them to work in their business. That is my goal. That's my passion.
Definitely appreciate that. And it sucks to see misinformation in auto retail and AI. It's a real thing, and I'm glad you're exposing it. There's courses you can take. You don't have to guess off the seat of your pants. There's courses for AI folks. Take Todd's word for it. Take my word for it. There's out there. Okay. Todd, big picture, what's coming next in the next 12 to 24 months? What should dealers be building toward right now if they want to stay competitive and sane in this AI first market? And that's what we're about. This podcast called What the Prompt.
Right. So, okay. I can't even tell you 24 months. I probably barely tell you 12. Because it's like every 3 weeks, my mind somehow gets blown up. And even us with the technology we built. So if we think about, and I'll give you like a deeper frame, where in the past, when you built technology, SaaS tools and all, right? You build your database, you build your UX layer on top of it, and you build what's called more monolithic architecture. And it's architecture that's going to last you the next 10 years, right? Or 15 years when you start rebuilding, and you'll patch along the way. You build it once, and then you kind of stick, that framework is so solid, it's going to carry you. So the world we live in today, it is so compartmentalized what we have built, where we can crash our code. So we built one LLM, we crashed it and built a new one in weeks. That would have been impossible back in the day. But this technology is enabling us, and you want what we call a very flexible scaffolding, where everything is like a Lego block, where I can pull in and out stuff. Like for us, with one line of code, we can go from using Claude 3.7 Sonnet. I could switch it to ChatGPT. I could switch it to DeepSeek R1. We can switch it to whatever underlying LLM without affecting our RAG or anything that lives on top of it. Because I don't know who's going to win the horse race for LLMs, and they all have different benefits and advantages. So it's super interesting to me where I look at these things and I'm like, oh, flexibility in code is key moving forward. Fixed architecture, not going to be as good. And what will happen over the next year for dealers, it's going to come down to one thing: get your data organized and get owning it. And get it normalized, cleaned up, and vectored and put into a format that you can actually leverage AI and the more technologies that are coming, whether it's autonomous agents or MCPs, which are kind of like a autonomous agent. MCPs to me are like what we call APIs, right? It's common language between different systems. So that's what an MCP, this model context protocol, will be. Everyone is kind of vectoring to this right now and converging on it as the way to standardize a language to allow systems to communicate. So let's say I have a ChatGPT agent and it needs to communicate with a DeepSeek agent. The MCP will act as that middle ground, which we in SaaS would have called an API. So we're just entering times where, the next 12 months for any dealer, it is data, 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 then hygiene, 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 then keep data clean, and then start building small. And what I mean by that, look, if you never did Legos, I would not send to your house the Millennium Falcon of Legos, right? With whatever, 16,000 pieces. I would probably send one of the little boxes for you to understand and be able to read instructions and put it together. And I tell dealers the same, like start with 2 or 3 use cases. Like every dealer we onboard, I don't care if it's a 50 store group, it's the same conversation. You're not boiling the ocean, and we're not even going to let you try to boil the ocean. What we're going to do, pick 1 to 2 things you want to accomplish. It could be, we want to increase the amount of ROs we have. We want to be more efficient in lead management. We want to activate dormant service customers. We want to help the defection of people's who warranty expires to stay and move into customer pay. Because right now, average store, it's over 70% fall off. So once warranty expires, they go to localized shade tree mechanics. So how do we transition them into customer pay, showing that the dealership still has reasonable pricing and has a better experience? So those are the types of things we always say, start with 1 or 2. That's it. You don't need to try to build all your workflows because there's so many workflows you're going to end up needing. You're going to have back office workflows. You're going to have used car workflows. You're going to have BDC workflows. You're going to have sales workflows. You're going to have service workflows. You're going to have operational workflows. You're going to have where reports had kind of led you. Now you're just going to have intelligence of what to do next, and you'll rely less on reports. So all of these things are coming, and they're coming in a giant wave right now, and nothing's going to stop it. The large tech companies in auto are not going to stop it. Dealers' own inertness is not going to stop it because it only takes one. One ends up winning. All the others will have to jump in to try to stay competitive. And let's be honest, there is absolutely more than one dealer and one dealer group right now, even the ones we're talking to, that are going to leverage this to no end. And they are going to outcompete the guys who sit and wait.
So if I'm a dealer of owner, operator of 14 stores, and I just listened to this exciting episode of What the Prompt, and I'm like, okay, cool. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. All right, Todd said, I got to clean my data. Can I contact you to clean my data?
Sure, you can contact us. I'm sure there's other services too. We make it easy. So as I said, our focus is cleaning data, is adjusting names, email addresses, phone numbers, home addresses. Do they own the car? Cleaning up misformatted data, which is super interesting. So we have AI running that says, oh, they put .con instead of .com. They put a comma instead of a period. They fat fingered that inventory, and it's not a $5.3 million Tundra. It's a $53,000 Tundra. So we're constantly thinking hygiene has to be at the top of the list for any dealer who's looking to drive success in an AI-driven future. So, but yes, like very hygiene cool. Is that is the core of core, right? Like without that, AI will never work. Yeah. I mean, in the end, we would be doing what I think CDPs do, and they just kind of go, we'll do a little hygiene, and then they pass it on, and they still have tons of duplication. They're not really going through like, oh no, that's a household. Todd shows up with the car, but Jackie also shows up with the car sometimes, his wife, right? Like you have to build all that context to understand how all the data is interacting and relating to it. Many just go in and cut the data out. They delete it. They're like, oh, it's duplicate. It's not a duplicate. And I'm like, these are the things we see all the time. So we definitely, yeah. I would say if there's a hygiene game, we're like NBA level, like hygiene guys, right? We're not playing college or high school basketball. We're definitely right. Playing at the top of that field. And we, most of our guys did not come from auto. They came from huge companies, Visa, PayPal, let's see, where else? Like, I'm just thinking of all the Siemens, you named the giant global companies that deal with so much eBay, transactional data globally. Right. That's where our guys came from. So I'm the auto dude. So I just have to I'm the rag for them, right? They're like, what does this mean? And I'm like, this is what this means. And they're like, is that important? I was like, very important or mildly important, or no, most dealers won't care about that. So very true. Very good. Okay. All right, folks. If this episode helped you understand AI just a little bit better or sparked a thought that can help your store, share it, tag your GM, send it to your fixed ops lead, or forward it to that one vendor who's still calling reports insights. Remember, we're starting a movement, automotive, retail, and AI. Big thanks to Todd Smith with QoreAI, real deal, no hype. And Todd, how do folks reach out to you? How do they communicate with you? If after this, let me get with Todd real quick. Listen, if you're on LinkedIn, you find me there, super easy, Todd Smith, or go to Core's page, but I'm faster. DM me there. More than happy to help. Even if you just have a question. Like, look, I love to just help people do what they're already trying to do. If you want a faster route, even, you can email me. It's just Todd, TODD, at QoreAI, QoreAI.com. More than happy to get back to you. And again, I believe that the number one thing right now is educate yourself on this and what is coming, because it'll prepare you on how to set your table, and it'll prepare you on how your business is going to operate. And also, just I'll throw this out on LinkedIn. We had just put together, Brent Wise, Bill Playford, Sean, myself, put together an AI share and study group, and you can join. We just launched last night the first cohort of that. It's free, and it was teaching people how to prompt. And the thing is, if you prompt a one sentence prompt, the problem is you're probably going to have to refine it so much with multi-prompting versus really being thoughtful in the architecture of how to prompt. So the first cohort led by Brent last night was on how to prompt correctly. And I think this is that fundamental stuff we want to share and help dealers. And you're never too old. Do not say, oh, my managers will do that, or the young guys at my store will do that. Do not make that mistake. I will tell you that is the worst thing to do. You want to know, because this is not only going to affect your dealership world, it's going to affect your banking world, it's going to affect your legal world, it's going to affect your healthcare. It's going to touch everything you do. And it's going to invade every piece of technology we touch today. So I think it's very important as a business owner that we educate ourselves, and we continuously do that as this technology literally creates a shifting sands under our feet.
This is what the prompt, and your prompt today is simple. Don't guess, know. Don't react, predict. Don't chase reports, get results. We'll see you on the next one.